When modeling, it's very important to think about scale and what your final platform is going to be. By scale, I mean how big is your scene? Is it proportionate to a person? If you're building a building, you have to make sure that a person or a player controller can make it through a doorway. And if you're going into a game engine, you have to match the game engine's working units. Maya defaults to centimeters as the default unit. Most game engines will default to meters, so it's very important to make sure you're in the correct working unit. To upscale your scene, you have to come up to Windows, Settings and Preferences, and Preferences. In this menu, come down to Settings, and where it says Working Unit Centimeters, change that to meters, and you'll see the grid get much bigger, but the object does not. Hit Save, and when you zoom out, your object will be almost unseeable. That's because the object and everything that is already in your scene does not get scaled up. It is just the units and all new objects you create. To scale up to meters, it is very easy. Select your object, or if you have multiple objects, I would recommend putting them in a group and scaling the group up. On the object or the group, come over to the attribute editor, and where it says scale 1 by 1 by 1, change that to 100. And you have just converted from centimeters to meters. You might notice this flickering on your object, and this is due to the fact that our perspective camera was not scaled up either. And if we zoom out, it will get worse until our entire scene just disappears. To fix this, you have to select your perspective camera, come over to the perspective shape, and change your near and far clipping plane. For near clipping plane, I'm going to type in 0.1, and that should get rid of your flickering on your objects. And the reason our scene is disappearing is because our camera can only see 100 units away, and right now the camera is more than 100 units from the grid. All you have to do is add some extra zeros to that number. And now when you zoom out, your objects will not disappear and they will not flicker between that black and gray. Now that we have working units set, let's bring in a scale model to help with scale for the scene. In Windows, I'm going to open up the content browser. This is in the Windows menu. If you're in a previous version of Maya, it was in General Editors and had content browser about 3/4 of the way down. Open up the content browser and you will see a list of different models and options. I'm just going to double click on the humanbody.ma, and that will bring in an average sized human, and this can be very helpful when you're building your objects to make sure that they fit through doors or vehicles.